Welcome back, everybody. The History Guy here, and this is episode 2 of The Great War, which is a mod for Hearts of Iron 4. I'm playing as the nation of France, my first time fighting on the side of the Entente during the war. And if you did not see episode 1, there's a link in the description below that will take you to that first episode, get you caught up on the first 4 years. I guess 5 years technically, because it's 1910 through 1914. We are now picking up in January of 1915. The war has begun, and things are not great, but they're not going terribly either. We're just going to kind of hold our own against Italy down here. I was really hoping to get Italy on my side. The main problem for me right now is that Russia is doing not so well. In fact, they've got a real problem here because they're about to be overrun, and they could probably lose some divisions here. The good news for them is that that'll greatly shorten up their front line, but Austria-Hungary is just having their way with the Russians right now. And there comes the Ottoman Empire joining the Central Powers. Not good news either, so we're really going to need to get some help from somebody. I do have some Russian divisions over here on my side, and we are making some progress. But you can see I've lost 232,000 men. All told, the Entente's lost nearly 1 million to only 400,000 on the Central Power side, which can't keep up because our numbers are pretty much even. Looks like, I guess we've got a separate war here. At least it's being tracked separately, the Austro-Hungarian-Serbian War. Not entirely sure why there's one and then another, and it's actually tracking the casualties differently. So one's Austro-Hungarian-Serbian War, the other one is Austro-Hungarian-Serbian War 2. So we're pushing our way up to the river, and then I'm going to kind of hang tight, but if I can break through, I will. So I've gone ahead and gotten a fleet going in the Mediterranean, hoping I can disrupt some things for Italy. But what that means is that I'm going to need to trade for additional fuel to compensate for that. So we're going to get some more fuel from the U.S. and hopefully it makes up the difference. Okay, my fuel is still going down. So I'm just trying to find that sweet spot where I can find exactly how much fuel I need to be importing in order to not keep losing it. And I guess we're not quite there yet. No, not that much. So right now it seems like I'm going to need an awful lot. Dang. So it's definitely a big deal. And that's one of those big changes with the new update to the game is you need to trade for huge amounts of fuel to get your fleet going. Serbia has called the Portuguese Republic as our ally in the German-Serbian War. So, as their ally, I was going to say. Wow, wait. Portugal just joined the war on the side of the... Oh boy. Okay. Oh no, Serbia. Okay. I'm not quite awake. I'm not quite with it right now. Serbia called Portugal to join our side. Okay. Serbia's on my side in this whole thing. So we're fighting off the Italians. They're trying to attack along this front. It's not working. Having much better success against the Germans right now. We're just about pushed up to the Rhine. If we get really lucky, we can start pushing into the main part of Germany here. At the very least, I want to try and take some of these southern cities if I can. So you can see right here, right now, it's 14% in favor of the defenders. But that's mostly because Russia is terrible right now, and so is Serbia. We've lost 1 million men now, but you can see the Central Powers, they're starting to catch up now with the number of casualties. Oh, my silly Russian friends. I think some of their divisions must have gotten destroyed. They have lost 1.5 million men already. I think some of those units must have gotten isolated. You can see he had that pocket in here, and now it's closed. So, boy, Russia, man, you're killing me, guys. And they're the ones who kind of got us into this whole mess in the first place. So, I'm going to have to just find a way into Germany, or else Russia's going to be taken out of this thing, and then Germany's going to do what they want to do, which is turn all of their armies on me. That was Germany's plan. The plan was that they could very quickly take out one country. In this case, they actually wanted to hurry up and take out France. And then the idea was that it was going to take Russia a while to get their armies mobilized, and they had a lot of ground to cover. Germany was wrong about that, but that was the idea. Hurry up and take out France before France knows what hit them, and then send all of your armies to the east to deal with Russia. Well, it didn't work out that way. and Russia kind of surprised them with how quickly they were able to mobilize and kind of take charge. So, yeah, we're going to have to do something here with Germany, or else I'm going to have big, big trouble. So I'll see what I can figure out here. All right, so all-out offensive. We're going to try to push forward to this line, take Dortmund, Frankfurt, Stuttgart. Of course, the problem is once we get a little further here, then we're into Austria-Hungary as well. So it's a lot of area to try and cover. If I can just get around that defense line over here on the river. Once I get across the river, I think it probably gets a little easier. I don't know what's going on here, but it seems like maybe not so good on the Italian side. I'm going to have to try to get some more units into the field. Tunisia canceled their Lend-Lease, whatever. That's fine. So I've lost 328,000 right now. The Germans have actually lost 263, so it looks like their number is actually climbing a lot faster than mine. So that's some good news. We're inflicting more casualties than we're taking right now. Oh, good. If we can get across the river, which it looks like we have, and I'm going to take Frankfurt, maybe we can start to isolate and destroy some of his divisions. It's not going as well on the southern part of my front. Let's take a look and see. I think we can get some more of these divisions into the field. They're not going to be completely ready to go, but we can at least get them into the front and maybe help shore up this side a little bit. But we're driving in pretty deep. We might even be able to just kind of head all the way to Berlin. I wouldn't be able to hold it, so I need to try and keep a solid front as best I can. German Zeppelin campaign. It is highly unlikely that German troops will be able to breach the British mainland in the current situation. However, our Zeppelin bomber balloons will be able to strike at the heart of the British industry from afar. Though they may send their pathetic little fighter planes to try and strike them down, it's unlikely they'll ever be able to come close in altitude. This'll show John Bull our might. Alright, well, good luck with that. I've got air superiority pretty much everywhere right now, so I'm not too worried about that. Alright, so we've got this little pocket over here that I'm trying to surround. And at the very least, wipe out these 5 divisions that are holding over here around Essen and Cologne. And I'm about to break through on Cologne, it looks like, which is going to push us up a little more to the river there. Just having a heck of a time on this side, but if I can get behind him, maybe things change right there. But man, I'm losing a lot of people in the process. Central Power's up to 775,000, Entente at 2.5 million. Of course, a lot of that are the Russians, who are up to 1.75 just themselves. Let's look at the situation over. My goodness, look at Austria-Hungary. They have just pretty much gone the whole thing. I mean, they're right on the doors of Moscow. Russia has just completely fallen apart, and they're not helping me at all. I can't do this on my own, so I don't know what's going to happen. It's not looking good, though, and now I'm starting to have some issues here. Well, just when things couldn't get any worse, it's April of 1915, and Tsar Nicholas II of Russia has abdicated. Demonstrations have forced the poor Tsar into official abdication. Though the Tsar has named Grand Duke Michael as his successor, the Duke has declined this offer. The appointment of a weak provisional government, which shared power with the Petrograd Soviet Socialists, led to confusion and chaos both at the front and at home. The army became increasingly ineffective, and now Soviet Russia has declared war on the Russian Empire. So when you thought it couldn't get any worse, now we've got the Soviets. So we'll see what happens with all of that. In the meantime, things continue to not go so well. I've got my Navy doing some convoy raiding, hoping that something will happen with that. What happened here? So it looks like we may be at the end of this war. Due to a combination of political instability, defeats in battle, and war weariness, we can no longer stand up to the Central Powers. A peace treaty has been drafted in Brest-Litovsk, which allows us to completely annul our Entente membership and exit the war at the cost of free Finnish, Ukrainian, Caucasian, Baltic, and Belarusian states, as well as typical war indemnities to the victorious powers. A terrible price, but far better than the alternative. Russia lives in its darkest hour. Okay, so does that mean the war's over? Because it looks like we're still at war here. All right, so let's see what's happening now. I think it just took Russia out of the war is all it did. Our half still goes on, which means we're in trouble. It keeps freezing because I think something else is about to happen. Every time it gets to that 24 hours and it kind of locks up, it feels like another shoe's about to fall. How do we go about negotiating for a peace? I'm not the war leader for the losing side. Who is? Oh, boy. I guess we'll see what happens here, but it's not going too great at the moment. All right, well, he's sending all of his troops that were on the front with Russia over to the other side now. So I'm falling back to a defensive line at the Rhine River and see if I can at least shorten this up and maybe hold him a little better rather than get myself cut off and lose half my armies. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see if that makes things a little better, but it's really only a matter of time now that Russia's out of the war. There's absolutely no way I can hold him. He outnumbers me. It's bad. It's real bad. So we'll see what happens. We'll see if maybe we can just kind of grind this thing to a halt and see if we can hang on for dear life until we can get the Americans to come in. Tunisia's going to send me a little bit of equipment. That doesn't really help a whole lot, but okay, thanks. Well, the good news is my strategy appears to be working. His losses are just skyrocketing, and mine are barely ticking up. So between what Germany's trying to do here and what Italy's doing down here in the south by constantly trying to attack along this front, I'm inflicting some pretty significant losses. Now the problem is he probably has more manpower than me, so that may not matter, but we're going to hang on and just see what happens. One by one, the dominoes continue to fall. There goes Serbia, the ones who really are responsible for this whole bloody mess in the first place. They're out. So where does that put us? We're at 25%. If this thing can get to 50, hopefully we can get this war to an end. I'm inflicting significantly more casualties now on Germany than they on me. You can see here that where we were pretty much dead even when it was in the 4s, now it's at 617 for me and almost 800,000 for him. I just don't think it's going to make that much of a difference. Likewise, I'm doing a great job on Italy with the number of casualties I'm inflicting on them. So my strategy to fall back to the Rhine and just let him kind of hurl himself at me seems to be working. Same with the Italians here. Looks like they've stopped. You'll notice who has joined in on the side of the Central Powers. Well, none other than some divisions from Soviet Russia. There's the Bolsheviks Petrograd Infantry Division. So those who were once my allies are now fighting for the enemy. It is October 1915, and this thing has a long way to go, I'm afraid. Hey, the good news is it looks like the U.S. is working on a national focus that may allow them to send volunteers. At least maybe the air power volunteers. They're working down this tree toward a declaration of war on Germany. Only 2 more things to go. If they can get there, they could be a part of the Entente within, I don't know, 6 months at this rate. I think I can hang on for that long. So let's see what happens. If we can hang on for that long and just kind of hold Germany where they are, maybe the U.S. comes in and we turn this around after all. Man, as badly as the war's been going, the casualties I'm inflicting on Germany right now are incredible. 1.38 million now on the German side to just 622,000 for me. So he's just hurling assaults at me, and it's not going well at all. You can see now the casualties, excuse me, on the Central Power side significantly higher. I just got to hang on for the U.S. Let's hope they are working on Zimmerman Telegram right now. No, they're not. You're killing me. So they went over and they started working on their Navy. I was hoping they'd go down to the reaction of the Zimmerman Telegram, but it might be that they can't do that unless Germany chooses the Zimmerman Telegram. I don't know. So for the time being, what I hoped would be a soon intervention from the Americans appears not to be the case. But we continue to hang on, and Germany's actually stopped their assaults for now. I'm not going to get sucked into counterattacking. I'm just going to sit tight. In the meantime, what I am going to do is I'm focusing on my air power. I'm focusing on my research. I want to get some tactical bombers going. I'm also going to start the process of building tanks. I'm hoping between air power and tanks, maybe that's where I'm able to turn the tide on this thing. I don't know what Germany's working on right now with their national focus. Looks like they're working on befriending Bulgaria, so I don't know what that means, but probably doesn't change things a whole lot. So this is interesting. World tension is at 64%. If it got to 75, the U.S. would join the war on our side. They're willing to accept, they just don't have world tension high enough. And because somehow I lost all my political power when the war started, I have no way of doing anything to try and drive up world tension to get them in. So we're into 1916. And we continue to hold, and we just continue to try and inflict as many casualties as possible. Just piling up the bodies, hoping it makes a difference. I don't know if it will. But 3 million now on the Central Power side, 2 million on my side, with no end in sight. All right, we're about to complete our first tank prototype here in just 2 days, and that's going to lead to developing our first heavy tank in 148 days, and we'll be able to get those into the field. I want to see now what the U.S. has gone to with their national focus. I'm just going to keep an eye on this at all times. Looks like they're actually on armament effort still, so still staying away from the Zimmerman telegram apparently. All right, I got tired of just sitting around doing nothing, and so here we are in May of 1916, and I have a major offensive going on against Italy. I've got 72 divisions down there, and I felt like it was time to bust over the Alps and do something to somebody. And Italy seemed like a good target, and it seems like so far it was a good decision. It's going pretty well. You can see my casualties are still right around 700,000, but still about 2.5 million in manpower available for me, so plenty. And I'm starting to produce enough weapons to kind of keep up with the losses. So meanwhile, we're watching what Italy's doing here, and they're up to almost 500,000 casualties, and I can't imagine they can sustain that like a nation like France or Germany can. So we'll keep an eye on this. Our first stop is to take Genoa and then get right to the gates of Milan, and then if I can do that, then we'll try to push a little further up and just kind of hold things right, maybe right here before we have to break out into Austria-Hungary, because that's a whole nother animal there. So, but so far so good on the offensive against Italy. This could be really good news here. If I can isolate these 20 or so divisions that are in here, there's some Germans, some Austro-Hungarians, some Italians, especially a lot of Germans though. If I can isolate these ones, something major must be happening because it's freezing up on me. And usually when that happens, that's because some event is about to fire. Maybe it's the Zimmerman telegram. We're going to find out here, hopefully in a second. Okay, Russian Civil War broke out, whites versus reds. Who knows what will happen there, but maybe it'll mean good news for me. I don't know. I'm not going to hold my breath on that one. If we can isolate these guys and cut them off and destroy them, that could be 30,000, 40,000 men taken off the front line. That would be really good news. In the meantime, we've kind of overcome the Alps now. We've taken Turin, and things continue to kind of be just where they've been all the way along up here in Germany. Nothing new really happening there. We're into late June of 1916. I just want to see what the U.S. is up to. All eyes on the U.S. are expanding their dockyards. So again, nothing to get excited about. Okay, so for the first time, I have tanks. So we're going to start, rather than making armored divisions, I'm going to start replacing some of my infantry with heavy tanks. And we're going to see what that does. It's obviously going to reduce the hit points, but it's going to improve the attack ratings and breakthrough and armor and piercing of all of my units. So we're going to start there, which means I'm going to have to start producing a bunch of those things. But then it also frees up some equipment for me to be able to use in all of my divisions. So we'll see if that helps at all. So things have ground to a halt in Italy. We're making a little bit of progress, but I hope it's not because of the changes I made where I pulled some infantry out and replaced them with tanks. But it looks like Germany has launched an all-out offensive all the way across the line, but I'm throwing him back everywhere. That's some good news. We still sit right around 25%. He is up pushing 3 million casualties now in his 150 to 100. Well, no, he's got 227 to 345 divisions compared to my just 99. But we continue to hang on. So, man, I just really desperately need the U.S. to get in on this thing. Hey, how about mustard gas? That's going to make a difference in performance, I think. So I feel like everything Germany just hurled at me had to have weakened him. So I already had a counterattack plan in place, figuring if I ever saw an opportunity, I'd launch it. Well, I see an opportunity. He was launching that all-out attack all the way along my line, and I felt like maybe that was a good time to turn things back around on him. So we'll see if we can get across the river and stay there. And there's a civil war going on in Mexico. I'm hoping maybe that moves things a little bit for the U.S., but it doesn't appear to be. All right, well, something seems to be happening here, because whatever he did by trying to hurl himself at me weakened his army pretty badly. So now I've broken out into Germany, and I think we haven't really turned the tide on the scoreboard, so to speak, but at the very least, we are moving the borders a little bit. I can't say the same for Italy. Things have ground to a halt down there, but we're going to take this episode up to the end of 1916. That'll get us 2 more years in. Episode won't be as long, but there's been a lot of action that has happened in this time, and the game sims much, much slower now than it did before, so you're still only seeing maybe 1 or 2 out of every 10 minutes that I'm playing. So we'll just kind of draw it to a close right at the end of December. The Kaiser, Franz Joseph I, has passed away in Austria-Hungary, so now Karl I ascends to the throne. But the good news is I isolated about 10 German divisions and wiped them out. He's up to 3.2 million losses now. I'm not quite at 1 million, so things have massively shifted in that vein. The problem is now, as I'm getting more tanks into the field, I've run out of fuel, and I don't have enough factories to make up the difference in terms of trade to get the fuel that I need. So some of my tanks are going to start grinding to a halt. In the meantime, we're just continuing kind of working on different efforts here. I've very nearly gotten pushed into central Germany now, but I'm afraid I'm going to kind of grind to a halt because of the issue of the lack of fuel. I need 16,500 a day. My maximum consumption would be 52. I guess that would be if I had everybody going. I don't know. But, all right, here we go. We've got some more units isolated here. Let's get these guys destroyed as well. That's going to, again, kind of jack up the casualty figures for the Germans. They're at 3.22 million right now. We're into December. And I think that's going to take another jump when we destroy those divisions there. All right, Happy New Year. It's 1917. This is historically the year the United States entered the war. Before we wrap this up, let's take a look and see what they're doing over there. They're still just working on equipment effort. They're still focusing on themselves, darn them. Things are still kind of grinding to a halt, but pushing slowly ahead in Italy. Major progress here in Germany. We've just about taken Hanover. We're on the verge of taking Bremen. Down here in the south, we've got Nuremberg and Stuttgart. And we're really going to kind of, I think, push up here to the north because I want to get over here, get Berlin, maybe Leipzig, Dresden, and kind of push there and see what happens. But it feels like something broke when he launched that massive assault, that frontal assault on me. I think he weakened himself to the point where my counterattack hit him at just the right time. And now as I'm adding these armored divisions, or these armored units to my divisions, it seems to be helping. So we're going to wrap it up right there. It's 1917. Please let me know your thoughts, what you think of what's happening. what you think maybe I could be doing differently, or what you like about what I'm doing. Any questions you may have, use the comment section below. Please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. We'll see you again soon. Thanks for watching.